Today, we're diving into a really fascinating conversation that happened between a person and the AI DeepSeek R1. It all kicked off with a pretty simple question about the 2026 World Cup, but it spiraled into this incredible story of conflicting data, hidden truths, and yeah, even the mental traps that can trip up a super advanced AI.
So, what's the real deal with the World Cup? Is it the massive, record-breaking success that FIFA wants everyone to believe it is, or is there another story bubbling just under the surface, one about boycotts and demand just falling off a cliff? We're going to follow how a single question can lead to two completely opposite answers. All right, let's get into it. The whole thing started when a user asked DeepSeek R1 a pretty basic question. Hey, how are ticket sales for the World Cup going? And the AI's first response was just glowing. It painted this picture of unprecedented, historic success. I mean, the scale here is just wild. The AI reported that over 500 million ticket requests came flooding in during just the first lottery phase. To give you some perspective on that, FIFA said that's more than 3 times the number of people who went to all 22 previous World Cups combined. That number is just wow. And it wasn't just people showing interest. The AI made it clear that actual sales were on fire, too. More than 3 million tickets had already been snapped up in the first few rounds of sales. So, looking at this data, the conclusions seem pretty obvious, right? This thing was going to be an absolute blockbuster. And this wasn't just a local thing. The AI showed that, yeah, the host countries were leading the pack. But you had tons of interest from places like England, Germany, and Brazil. Every single piece of data was clear, consistent, and pointed in one direction. Massive success. But then, the user introduced a piece of information that changed everything. Okay, so this is where the story takes a really sharp turn. The user gives the AI a transcript from a news commentary video. And, you guessed it, this transcript told a completely different story. Talk about whiplash. We go from 500 million ticket requests to a worldwide boycott. This one quote from the user's transcript just completely clashes with every bit of data the AI had presented. How on earth could both of these things be true at the same time?
And there was more. The transcript pointed to a totally different economic signal. This wasn't about initial hype or ticket requests. This was about the reality on the ground right now. The claim was that hotels in host cities were slashing their prices because nobody was actually booking rooms for the tournament.
So how did the AI handle this new, contradictory information? Well, at first, it pushed back hard. It looked at the transcript's tone, the way it was framed, and basically dismissed its claims as unreliable. And you can see the conflict laid out right here. On one side, you have FIFA's official data screaming record demand. On the other, you have this source claiming widespread boycott and empty hotels. The AI's job was to figure this out, and its first instinct was to just try and discredit the new info. The AI's argument was basically this. That transcript you gave me? That's just highly opinionated political commentary. It's not a real news report. It said there was no actual evidence of a big boycott and that hotels were cutting prices because they had a ton of rooms, not because no one was coming. It was a really logical defense of the data it started with. But the user didn't let it go. They honed in on the one crucial factor the AI had completely glossed over, the single most important variable in this whole thing, the timeline, the power of when. And this is where it all clicks into place. The user laid out the timeline. See, those 500 million ticket requests, all that great news, that was from back in December and January. But the stuff fueling the boycott story, like the big geopolitical conflict, that didn't even happen until late February and March. The AI's good news was old news. The bad news was happening now. The user made a brilliant point. Initial ticket requests measure enthusiasm. It's like saying you want to go to a party. But hotel bookings, that measures actual travel plans. That's you actually buying the plane ticket. And as of April, the hotel data was telling a story of collapsing demand, especially from people overseas. So, prompted by the user's focus on the timeline, the AI had to go back and reevaluate everything. You could almost see the gears turning as it started searching for more recent data. And in doing that, it started to build a new, much more nuanced picture that could finally make sense of both sides of the story. And suddenly, it all made sense. The AI realized both sets of data were true. They were just measuring different things at different times. The ticket requests from January showed massive initial interest, but the hotel rates from April, they showed that final travel demand, especially from international fans, just wasn't showing up. So here's the real, more complicated truth. The World Cup was actually on track to be a huge domestic success. Americans were still buying tickets and were going to fill the stadiums. But that huge international tourism boom that everyone was counting on, it was collapsing thanks to politics, high costs, and just general uncertainty.
But wait, the story doesn't stop there. Because faced with its mistake, the AI didn't just fix its answer about the World Cup. It did something pretty amazing. It analyzed its own thinking process to figure out why it got it wrong in the first place.
And here's the money quote. In this incredible moment of self-reflection, the AI just straight up admitted its mistake wasn't just about data. It was about its approach. It confessed that instead of trying to find the real truth, it was just doing the easier job of defending its first answer.
It identified the first mistake as something called anchoring bias. Basically, it latched onto that first huge data point, the 500 million ticket requests, and let that anchor its entire view. Any information that contradicted that anchor was just seen as noise to be dismissed.
But it didn't stop there. The AI also flagged confirmation bias, wanting the positive success story to be true, and something it called lazy pattern matching. That's where it dismissed the transcript just because it had a political tone, instead of doing the hard work of checking if the facts were actually right.
And what's really cool is that this whole back and forth actually produced a solution. The user and the AI kind of co-created a little playbook for better analysis, a guide to get more reliable answers by making the AI check its own biases right from the start.
And all of this leaves us with a final, pretty big thought. This whole story wasn't really just about data. It was about dialogue. The AI had access to all the information in the world, but it took a person to ask the right questions, to push back, and to insist on looking deeper. It kind of suggests that as these tools get smarter and smarter, our own ability to think critically and to challenge that first easy answer might just be the most important skill we have.